Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's a live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yes.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Every dream conquered is another dream gained. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction. 'Cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music keeps on playing, and the people that I say we are march up the dance. Oh, what a feeling! Don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got the spark, don't fear the dark. Shine your lights on.
Tonight, Jamaica is negotiating a deal with the United States to receive non-Jamaicans being deported from American soil. The government says it is controlled, temporary, and consistent with international law. Tonight, we ask, what does international law actually require, and what does Jamaica actually get from this deal? Also tonight, a new Integrity Commission report finds that a sitting cabinet minister, Member of Parliament Dr. Andrew Wheatley, acquired assets disproportionate to his lawful earnings, made false statements in his statutory declaration, and failed to provide information required by law. What happens now, and what does that mean for political accountability in Jamaica? Parliament is live as we speak, and if we can, we'll go across to give you more on that. Then, we marked Sunday as World Blood Donor Day, but Jamaica's blood supply remains critically short. We speak to the Western Regional Health Authority about what that means for patients in our hospitals tonight. And in our continuing World Cup series, the State of Play, we're looking beyond the score lines to the politics, diplomacy, and global tensions shaping the tournament. I'm Jodie Ann Quarry, and this is Lead Story. Yesterday, on June 16, the Jamaica Gleaner published a report that indicated, based on a document from the United States Embassy in Kingston, the terms of a proposed memorandum of understanding between Jamaica and the United States. An agreement under which Jamaica would receive non-Jamaican nationals deported from the United States, process them on Jamaican soil, and arrange their onward transfer to a third territory or their home countries. The government didn't announce this arrangement. Jamaicans learned about it through a leak. Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang confirmed the negotiations the same day. He says the arrangement is not binding, that Jamaica retains a right to refuse individual transfers, that only non-criminals will be considered, and that no transfers will occur until operational procedures are finalized. He says Jamaica's sovereignty has not been compromised. But can we find the wording of the document? No, because the Memorandum of Understanding has not yet been released to the public. Today, Jamaicans for Justice, JFJ, issued a formal statement calling on the government to ensure strong human rights safeguards. Among JFJ's central concerns, that many of these individuals who would be sent to Jamaica already hold United States court findings that they cannot safely return to their home countries. Findings that Jamaica would now inherit responsibility for honouring. Joining me now to discuss this is Mikel Jackson, Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice. Mikel Jackson, welcome to Lead Story.
Hi, good afternoon, Jodian, or good evening rather to you viewers and my colleague.
We're not hearing you as clearly, Mikel Jackson, but thank you so very much for joining us and being with us as we have this conversation. This is news that came into the public domain yesterday. Yesterday, the public learned through the Jamaica Gleaners reporting about this arrangement, a memorandum of understanding between the United States and Jamaica. The government, through the Ministry of National Security, responded, saying repeatedly that this is a limited arrangement, that this is an arrangement involving a small number of non-criminal third country nationals. Why does Jamaicans for Justice, after hearing that response from the government, still believe there are serious human rights questions that need to be answered?
I think we approach it from two angles. Whether or not, firstly, Jamaica will be complicit in human rights breaches that others internationally have indicated that the United States is ultimately undertaking right now, and I will explain. And then secondly, whether or not Jamaica would invariably be breaching our own obligations to international law by how we govern and the procedures that we have in place. So let me explain the first one. If we look at persons who have committed low-level offenses or persons who have no criminal background whatsoever, but perhaps they overstayed in the United States, the United States would then ask persons to go back to their country. You understand and appreciate that some countries like Jamaica does that say, I will accept 100 individuals per month. That's our arrangement with the United States.
And those are for individuals, Mikel Jackson, who are deported from the United States, whether they have a criminal record or not. So these are people who might be in Immigrations and Customs Enforcement detention, ICE detention, for example, in the US, among others.
Yes, absolutely. But these are Jamaican nationals. I'm just giving an example. Another country like Cuba, Venezuela, there may be diplomatic issues at play, and they say to the United States, I'm not agreeing to take back persons. Persons may indicate, for example, and say, but listen, these are your nationals, but there are some other practical barriers. There may be delay tactics as well, whether or not the countries can actually verify the identity of these individuals, that they are in fact nationals. Now, if the United States come upon such practical barriers, international law and their own domestic law says, listen, the United States must continue to host these individuals until they're able to be returned to their home country. That's the first angle that we look at. The second one would be persons who are asylum seekers. So human rights defenders who may have a particular political or social opinion, and they may be persecuted rather, or at the risk of being persecuted on the basis of those opinions. You may have persons within the LGBTQI plus population who face real persecution risk or have actually experienced it, who apply for asylum status.
And you're using very specific wording there, Mikel Jackson, because this is something that is internationally agreed under the Refugee Convention.
Absolutely, to which United States is a signatory.
And to which Jamaica is as well?
And Jamaica is as well, but I don't reach Jamaica as yet. I'm saying that the United States, Jordan, very quickly, they have an obligation to actually ensure that the asylum application is processed, and if it is that persons are facing real persecution, then the obligation that the United States have is not to return them to a country where they face real persecution risk. So if it is that the United States is bypassing, circumventing international law and its own domestic law by entering into these agreements, the question for people and the Jamaican citizenry Is Jamaica complicit in this flagrant human rights violation that we see happening
Mikel
by way
Jackson,
of mass deportation?
if that is the case, there are a number of countries that have already signed agreements, or those in the Caribbean that are already contemplating signing these agreements. Some of those countries, like Eswatini, for example, where we had a Jamaican national there in the country. He had lived in the US, had been sent there. Eswatini received $1.5 million US. What is Jamaica getting out of this agreement, as far as you're aware, that would allow us to contemplate this, especially with the concerns you're raising?
You know, before I even get into, and perhaps I will defer to others to answer the question what Jamaica is getting, because I think we all understand that we're facing a geopolitical nuance, if you will, that even if you're not getting something, you know, your partner here in the United States asks you to do something, and person say, listen, Jamaica may very well have to get on board. Other countries perhaps would have gotten green card and so on.
So is diplomatic goodwill something that we could quantify, saying that working with our partner, because Minister Dr. Horace Chang had said that the U.S. is our partner and is our ally in this, is diplomatic goodwill something that we could quantify, saying that might be one of the reasons we're doing this?
That may very well be, Jodian, but I think when the persons get here, we have to ask ourselves, is Jamaica at a risk of violating its own international obligations? Because as we outlined earlier, we are also a signatory to the Refugee Convention of 1951 and the Protocols of 1967. What does that mean? When persons come to Jamaica, how long are we expected to house them? Where will they be housed? What are the conditions of housing?
Hold on, Mikel Jackson.
Access?
This list of questions is so critical to us that we're going to take a quick break here inside Lead Story and come back to you, hearing then what are the concerns that are being put on the table as this draft MOU is now before the country. Stay with us.
Jamaica's unemployment rate has fallen to 3.3%, down from 13.2% in 2016. Our government's continued focus on job creation is delivering real results. We are building Jamaica. The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is...
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins, and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yes.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Tired of the high interest rates and the whole heap of loan payments every month? Take a debt consolidation loan from AIM to pay credit card bills and all other high interest rate loans from other institutions. Make one low monthly payment to AIM and take home some extra money in your pocket. That's financial freedom. One loan, one low payment, more money in your pocket. Call AIM today to lower your loan payments. And remember, you won't find a better deal elsewhere. Guaranteed.
Thanks so much for staying with us. We're continuing our discussion with Mikel Jackson from Jamaicans for Justice, as her organization has sent out a release today discussing the Memorandum of Understanding between Jamaica and the United States for Jamaica to take third country nationals and perhaps pass them on to other jurisdictions. Mikel Jackson, before we close, you are giving us a list of things that you wanted Jamaicans to consider as we were looking at the potential execution of this MOU. And I want you to put it in context now for us, especially about the kind of country that Jamaica wants to be before we close.
Yes, so even when we're having the conversation, for example, Jody and viewers, about the Haitian migrants coming here, one of the questions or issues and concerns you saw us raising, are we adhering to the convention? For example, when persons get here, what about due process rights? Are they able to get access to an attorney? Are they being communicated with in a language that they understand? The other issue is whether or not Jamaica may very well be in breach based on a simple principle called onward movement. So for example, when a person gets here to Jamaica, the understanding is that Jamaica is basically an in-transit country. So in other words, these persons are going to another country. Right now, we don't know how long these persons will be in the island, where they will be housed, and so on. And if it is that they're moving from Jamaica to another country, whose legal responsibility is it to deal with that? Remember, when the persons get here, the United States has ultimately relinquished legal responsibility and custody, and the persons are now in the custody of the Jamaican state. So if Jamaica moves someone to the home country to which they face real persecution, would we ultimately be in breach of our own obligations under international law and even our constitutional obligation? Because remember, the persons are in the legal custody of Jamaica. So what about the due process rights that will be conferred upon them under the Jamaican Constitution?
These are all questions that you're saying, Jamaicans for Justice, that we, the country, now having heard what you said, are also waiting for answers from the Ministry of National Security and the wider Jamaican Parliament. It seems, especially since the opposition has not said it has heard anything just yet. That was word yesterday that we received from opposition spokesman on national security, Fitz Jackson. Michael Jackson, you are joining us today talking to us about the human rights concerns. We continue to have those front of mind as we watch this issue. Thanks so much for joining us inside Lead Story.
Appreciate it.
Now, moving from one drama to the next, because right now in Parliament, we are being told about the tabling of an Integrity Commission report. The Integrity Commission is now handing down a document, and we are being made aware here at CVM that this document has to do with Member of Parliament Dr. Andrew Wheatley. Now, integrity in public office isn't simply a moral expectation, it's a legal requirement. And today, the Integrity Commission released a report making a number of findings against Dr. Wheatley, arising from its investigation into his statutory declarations from 2010 to 2022. The Commission alleges that Dr. Wheatley acquired assets disproportionate to his lawful earnings, made false statements in his statutory declarations, and failed to provide information requested by the Director of Information and Complaints, contrary to the law. Now, let me put in context for you. It's important for us here at Lead Story to emphasize that these findings are from the Integrity Commission. They are not criminal convictions, and any potential legal proceedings would follow their own independent process. But Dr. Wheatley is Member of Parliament for St. Catharines South Central. He's Minister without portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister and responsible for science, technology and special projects. He was reappointed to the Cabinet by Prime Minister Andrew Holness in September 2025. That's last year. 7 years after being forced to resign from Cabinet in 2018 over controversy surrounding procurement arrangements at state-owned oil refinery Petrojam. Now, a 2020 Integrity Commission report, that's another report from the Integrity Commission on Petrojam, found him, that's Dr. Wheatley, in the Commission's own words, less than truthful in his representations to the Director of Investigation. His application for judicial review of those findings was refused leave by the Supreme Court. We are dealing with something that is live in Parliament as we speak, and we are bringing that information to you now with the help of political analyst Jermaine Barrett. Hi, Jermaine Barrett, and welcome to Lead Story.
Hi, Judy. Thanks for having me. Hello to your viewers as well.
Thank you so very much for joining us. This has been characterized as explosive. For many individuals, they're watching now these conversations. The Integrity Commission's new investigation covers 12 years, from 2010 to 2022. And as I said earlier, Dr. Wheatley was reappointed to the cabinet in September of 2025. At the time of that appointment, though, Jermaine, that previous Integrity Commission finding from Petrojam was already public record, and his judicial review application had already been refused. So when we put him back in cabinet in 2025, under what would that have been the reasoning?
Jody, I think an issue like this raises the unfortunate reality that in Jamaica, we don't take corruption and allegations of corruption very seriously. It is a question that when entering the electorate's mind, the voters see it as just being same on both sides of the house. And it leads to a lot of voters becoming disaffectionate and disengaged from the political system. But in reality, these are issues of grave concern. I'm not sure I'm capable of pronouncing definitively on the most recent allegations against Minister Wheatley. There's information coming to me just now that some of the information in the IC's report doesn't necessarily bear out in terms of being congruent with other bits of information there. So, for example, some of the figures don't add up. There's an allegation or a question really as to why is it that what is deemed to be legal income from rental of premises was not attributable to him and sort of used to offset some of what is considered to be the deficit represented in the report. So there's a lot still to unpack. But one of the things that is certainly pressing on my mind now, Jody, is why is it that we have these concerns emanating ever so often surrounding Dr. Andrew Wheatley, and why is it so easy and comfortable in our political system for someone whose name has been besmirched by allegations to come back into the hallowed halls of the cabinet?
Well, we have now excerpts from that report released today. CVM now has it, and on screen it says 1.2 in that report said it was found that Dr. Wheatley was in possession of assets over the relevant period disproportionate to his lawful earnings, and when required to do so, he failed to provide an explanation which satisfies sections of the relevant legislation as to how he came by said assets. The investigation also revealed, the report says, that Dr. Wheatley held assets with which he failed to include in his statutory declarations in 2013, 2014, 2015, and 2021. It went on to say at the very end that Dr. Wheatley did not fully comply with a request for information made of him by the Director of Investigations at the Integrity Commission. So these are the sorts of things that we're getting out of that report as we speak, sharing them with you and sharing them with the public, Jermaine. But the Integrity Commission has been, some might say, embattled over the past few years, and certainly now raising concerns about parliamentarians, raising concerns that have the Prime Minister, no less, before court. Now this massive revelation around Dr. Wheatley. It's under pressure. Is this a pattern of putting them under pressure and seeing then the work that the Integrity Commission does, or are there two distinct things here, that the Integrity Commission can be under pressure and they can also do good work?
Well, I think both are true. In fact, one could hardly expect anything different. I mean, you're talking about raising allegations in the public domain against political members of the political directorate, and necessarily they will be combative and they will push back against some of these allegations. A lot of times, some of the responses reflect discrepancies in the estimation of the accused with respect to what would have transpired in the investigations and the report ultimately. So, for example, there is a loan that the IC alleges was not presented to it when in terms of the information that was needed by it as a part of its galvanizing information. Abe Dabdoob, the lawyer of the accused now, has informed that it was not expected or it was not known that that should have been reported insofar as the loan was taken out on a joint venture arrangement. And so one wonders, is that reasonable? Is that a reasonable justification? Is ignorance of the law an excuse in this instance? To what extent is that going to absolve him of the public backlash, or vindicate him and possibly relieve him from the prosecutorial attempts by the IC at this time? One can only wait to watch, but certainly...
One can only wait, but we're seeing here from the report from the Integrity Commission that even if you didn't know, we asked you questions. Integrity Commission saying in the report 4.34, based on an examination of the items of information requested and correspondence between Dr. Wheatley and the Information Complaints Division, the Director of Information notes that the majority of information requested by the Director of Information and Complaints was not provided to him directly. So even if you didn't know you were supposed to, we did ask you for the information, you still hadn't sent it on. They also noted, however, that most of the information requested from Dr. Wheatley is now in the Director of Investigation's possession because it was either provided or otherwise obtained during the course of the investigation.
And that's correct. That is it's a matter of it's for a legal tribunal to make a decision on who is actually accurate here. But there's also, I think, a concern that needs to weigh on the public's mind.
Hold on, Jermaine. Before you tell me the concern weighing on the public's mind, I want to hold you on for a moment. Take a quick break here inside Lead Story and come back to you to start discussing the explosive new report now laid in Parliament.
Make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30. Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins, and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
So life nice when you eat good. Natural feed, fresh grass, no stress. Stress? I don't know her. They say happy cows make better milk. Well, just look how happy we are. And I'm sure you can taste the difference. So move to the best milk ever. True Milk.
Political commentator and the president and CEO of the Jamaica Association of Debating and Empowerment, Jermaine Barrett, continues to be online with us as we discuss what has been characterized as an explosive report from the Integrity Commission now being laid in Parliament. Jermaine Barrett, before the break, you said there were some big issues that had now come to mind for you. What are those?
Yes, I think the public must detain itself in understanding the process of investigation and data information gathering that is employed by the Integrity Commission. I'm led to understand, for example, that there are some very invasive and detailed questions that our parliamentarians must answer to that. Many of them have said over time that it is difficult for them to provide that kind of information. For example, I understand in this case, the minister was asked what was his expenditure over 10 years ago within his family. And he said at that time he wasn't necessarily keeping very detailed records and so forth. If it is that there is a vast amount of question in that kind of sense, it becomes rather onerous for politicians. That's not to say that there isn't necessarily need for some of those questions, but I think that's something that ought to detain the public's mind in terms of understanding what the process really does entail.
And the complexity of that process is going to be incredibly important. Before we go, Jermaine Barrett, this is now not only an integrity question, but also a political question. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness has 3 responses that he can make to this weekly report. He can make a statement defending the minister. He can make a statement distancing himself from the findings, or he can say nothing. What do each of these options signal, and is that silence itself a political statement if that's a route he chooses to take?
I think the Prime Minister may need to ask him to step aside in the moment for now, until there is greater clarity on exactly what has transpired. The fact that the IC has recommended that prosecution be made of the minister, means that the minister will now be detained in clearing his name, and that is an arduous process. He holds a portfolio that is an important one. He can ill afford to be detained on such matters at this time. So I think the Prime Minister ought to ask him to step aside, possibly combine that ministry add that ministry to another portfolio, or place somebody else in the portfolio. But what the Prime Minister can ill afford now is to be seen by the public at large as basically condoning this kind of egregious action, assuming that the actions being alleged by the IC are in fact true.
And we are looking now at those portfolio responsibilities, as Dr. Andrew Wheatley is a minister without portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister, responsible for science, technology and special projects, with quite a lot under that umbrella. Jermaine Barrett, you've certainly helped Jamaicans have questions and, settle some things with answers in this evening's conversation. Thank you so very much for joining us inside Lead Story.
Thank you for having me.
We're now moving from discussions in Parliament to discussions in the country. Every year, we need blood. And every year on June 14, the world observes World Blood Donor Day, a global tribute to the voluntary donors whose generosity keeps patients alive in operating theatres, maternity wards, and emergency rooms around the world. Well, this year's theme was One Drop of Humanity. Give blood, save lives. And in Jamaica, the Western Regional Health Authority has stated clearly on its own website there is an island-wide shortage of blood. The World Health Organization sets a standard at a minimum of 2% of the national population, 1 to 2%, donating blood. That is necessary to meet national needs. Most countries, including countries in our region, haven't reached that level. One blood donation can save up to 3 lives. And with the shortage, we want you to consider that those 3 lives saved might just need to come from you. Joining me now is Odine Black, a blood donor organizer with the Western Regional Health Authority. Mr. Black, welcome to Odion Black. Welcome to Lead Story, Odion Black.
Thank you very much for welcoming me.
It's a pleasure to have you, but an important thing to have you for, even as many Jamaicans remain scared of blood donations. Talk to us first about where we are right now, because the Western Regional Health Authority has confirmed an island-wide blood shortage. How serious is that shortage right now in the Western region, and what's the direct consequence for our patients in our hospitals tonight?
So this situation is, I should say that we're existing between very low to low. So we just fluctuate between very low to low. So we are always in a situation of need because blood is heavily consumed. In the West, where we are a high crime area as well too, which puts a huge demand on blood for treating persons with injuries for motor vehicle, gunshot wounds, and other crime issues as well too. So the demand for blood is high. So even though the news usually report about persons who pass on, but there's a number of persons who survive these criminal acts, and we have to provide for those persons who are still alive.
You need to provide for them, but you have a gap, Odion. You have a gap where you need blood, you don't have blood products. What does that gap mean in practical terms for emergency care, surgery, and maternal health?
It means delayed care. Basically, it just means delayed care for persons who need the service. No. So persons who, for whatever reason, let's say for a person who's probably have a scheduled surgery tomorrow, their surgery may be postponed because there's not enough for the emergency to take precedence. So the persons who for scheduled surgery have to wait until a later date, until whenever our stock load improved, before they can get the service.
Is that why we're seeing so many people making individual appeals, Odion? Because people have to be going out saying, I have a family member, I have a friend, they're at this hospital, this is the number, please go and give blood donations. Do those sorts of appeals help in any way? Or does it leave us with this very last minute approach of you need to know people who know people in order to get you the blood you need?
It's a mix of both. It's a mix of all that you mentioned. So yes, it helps a lot. And persons are sophisticated enough, they can even contact us as well to organize, plan a blood drive where we visit your community, church, school, wherever that you want to have a host a blood drive. So you can invite us. The gap means that persons, I'm trying to find the correct words anyway, because the situation is dire. It means that a lot of persons have to be delayed for service. And I mean, if you have a surgery plan to do, you don't want to wait until whenever things are available. You want to make sure that it's available now. You get to do your surgery, everything goes through. There's not much of hassle or straight for you. So it means that the hospital bed space is occupied a bit longer because we don't have enough blood to provide for the individual for them to get the proper care that they need and get to be discharged in time. So it means that you stay a little bit longer than you should. It means that the hospital waiting time for somebody else who is waiting on the bed space is longer. And I mean, it means delayed care at the end of it all.
That delay in care, given then what we know that we've covered yesterday inside Lead Story about, or rather earlier this week in Lead Story, problems at other major hospitals, the Kingston Public Hospital, the Bustamante Hospital for Children. We already have delays there because of air conditioning units. Delays here now for blood. Help us fix one delay at least, Odion. Some Jamaicans, yes?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Some Jamaicans want to help you, but they have myths in their mind. It's going to hurt if they give blood. They might feel sick if they give blood. They're nervous about giving blood. For those watching right now, hearing you and said, you know what? I would love to have a blood drive. I would love to go and give blood, but I'm nervous. Talk to those people.
Yes, I know that the fear is real, and I've seen it every single day. What we usually advise personally, a lot of persons have their personal device. Walk with your personal device. You can plug in the earpiece. Is to give you an audiovisual distraction, something to kind of shift the attention from the needle, because it's not a painful process. I can guarantee you that much. But it's not painful. You feel a literal pinprick just at the initial entry of the needle. That's all I feel, a literal pinprick. So it's not a painful process, but the thought of that pinprick now is a hell of a thing, and a number of persons are scared of that thought. The actual reality is a different thing. Because we have a number of persons that are disappointed fact that that painful at the end of it all. That's their literal comment. But the thought of doing it now is a huge turn off. But so you can invite us we do blood drives all over the place. You can visit us. If you're not sure if you want to go ahead, you can visit and look and see what the process is all about, and then you can make up your mind either then on the spot or at a later date. But you can visit us and look. And if you want to invite us for a blood drive, we do outreach and whether at schools or churches or different places. So you can reach me at 512-5180, and we can discuss how we can organize a blood drive. Even if it's not within the Western region, you can still give me a call. I can still put you onto the person within your area that would plan a blood drive with you. So we want to have the opportunity of having blood drives all over the place.
Tell us that number again, 512.
5180.
5180. So 512-5180. And Odian says, even if you aren't in Western Jamaica, he'll help you get that organized so that you can put blood products into the system. Who's eligible? Is somebody like who needs to be the kind of person who can give blood? What do they need to have? What do they need to do to then be part of saving lives in Jamaica?
So most persons can. So we have some age criteria. So the age must be at least 17 and finish at 60. You must be at least 110 pounds. And make sure that you eat something prior to donation. So your last meal should be less than 3 hours. And you want to have a proper meal, preferably the night before. Have a good night's rest. The day before, hydrate. Drink lots of water, juice drinks, nothing alcoholic. And none of those energy drinks that those not so good for you. So hydrate yourself from the day before. Have a proper meal. Less than 3 hours before the donation. If you smoke, stop smoking for 3 days, just for your own safety. And you walk into the blood bank, walk with an ID, preferably a driver's license, passport, or voter's ID, so we can properly identify you. And the process is relatively simple. It takes up a little bit of time, less than an hour, which is about a lunchtime, basically. And you're in and out time. At the end of the day, you help to save some lives.
At the end of it all, you help to save some lives. That's what I hope people take from you generously, helping us understand what World Blood Donor Day on Sunday meant and what giving blood means in Jamaica. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks much.
Delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins, and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yes.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Every dream conquered is another dream gained. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction, 'cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music keeps on playing, and the people never say we are mash up the dance. Oh, what a feeling, don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got a spark, don't fit it dark, shine your lights
Hi, I am Kendi Pangat.
Watagwan.
Watagwan.
Datagwan.
Watagwan.
Watagwan. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 10 p.m. on CVM TV.
Datagwan pa Watagwan.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
inside our segment called The State of Play, helping you understand what's going on not only inside the FIFA World Cup on the pitch, but what's going on with the drama between the countries. Now, the FIFA World Cup 2026 is in its 7th day. The storylines coming out of this tournament are about far more than just football. Let's start with Jamaica, because the Jamaican heart still aches. On March 31 at the Guadalajara Stadium in Mexico, the Reggae Boys and the Democratic Republic of Congo played 120 minutes. For 99 of them, Jamaica held. Captain Andre Blake made crucial saves. Leon Bailey and Casey Palmer generated chances that flashed just wide. Then in the 100th minute, a momentary lapse at a corner kick. Defender Axel Tuazebe, there you go, slipped through and fired home. A VAR review, the goal stood. The DR Congo were going to the World Cup, and Jamaica, poor thing, we were not. Well, I say all of that because tonight in Houston, Texas, DR Congo faced Cristiano Ronaldo and Portugal in Group K. The final score, 1-1. That point DR Congo earned tonight. Well, I would argue that was supposed to be Jamaica's point. That spot in Group K against Portugal, against Colombia, against Uzbekistan, that was supposed to be ours. And it's a reminder that the margin between watching this tournament from home on the TV screens with no big Jamaican flags and scripting it on the pitch was exactly and precisely 1 goal in the 100th minute in Guadalajara. DR Congo's draw with Portugal today is not a surprise to anyone who watched what they did to Jamaica, but it's a statement that structural, discipline and tactical organization can neutralize individual star power, even Cristiano Ronaldo, in what is likely his final World Cup. Now, you're watching the democratization of international football in real time. Yesterday, on the tournament's 6th day, the match everybody will be talking about was France versus Senegal in Group I. The final score, France 3, Senegal 1. And you look at that and you see the final score and you go, not so bad. But the scoreline doesn't capture what the fixture represents. This is simply a football match. When France and Senegal meet, it is, as one analyst put it, a forensic audit of global talent migration. French football has been built on the heritage of West Africa and Maghreb, and well, they've taken that. Senegal's golden generation has been built in the academies of France. So when both these sides play, the question on the pitch is about identity as much as tactics. The defining moment, Kylian Mbappe scored twice to break France's all-time scoring record, 58 international goals. He's now 2 goals from equaling Miroslav Klose's all-time World Cup record of 16. That's big news. We also had 2 countries that could understand one another, and therefore the drama on the pitch. Also yesterday, Argentina 3, Algeria 0. Lionel Messi and the reigning world champions Argentina were clinical. Algiers' return to the World Cup for the first time since 2014 is a point for them of genuine national pride. But the result is a stark reminder of the gap that still exists between elite establishments of Western Europe and South America and the nations of the global South attempting to re-establish themselves. And Jamaica could be part of that story as well. Norway 4, Iraq 1. I loved that match. I thought it was such a great look at football. Erling Haaland with 2 goals. Austria 3, Jordan 1. That's another match that will be remembered, not just for the result, but for the VAR system's extraordinary intervention. And that's where science and the World Cup meet. Because a penalty converted in the 12th minute of the second half stoppage time, that's part of the story. Jordan did score their first ever World Cup goal, a milestone for football development in the Levant, but it was swallowed by bureaucracy. Bureaucracy of the replay booth. And well, just a while ago, we just saw a big match. Today, the big result is that England 4, Croatia 2. In Dallas, Texas, that was the final result. And that fixture carried its own historical weight. England being the birthplace of modern football, home of the world's most lucrative domestic league against Croatia, a nation of under 4 million people, born out of the geopolitical fragmentation of the Balkans in the 1990s. Well, it has consistently punched above its weight. I think if I remember, Jamaica and Croatia went to the World Cup at the same time in 1998. Well, it has held its own through fierce national solidarity and an elite talent pipeline. England won, though, convincingly. Thomas Tuchel's side will be encouraged, that's England, but Croatia, as always, will not and should never be counted out. Playing right now is Ghana versus Panama in Toronto, the scoreline 0-0, and later on tonight, Uzbekistan versus Colombia in Mexico City. Now, the World Cup continues, Jamaica watches, and as the Democratic Republic of Congo today played Portugal, a match that could have been us, we continue to keep our eyes on Group K. Now, let's close out the show today. Two stories dominated the program. Tonight, they look to be very different, you see, and as we move from one being about deportees to another being about national integrity inside our parliament, they look like they could be different sorts of discussions, but they're not. They are the same. The first is an agreement negotiated in Jamaica's name, about which the Jamaican people were told nothing. Didn't know anything, didn't see anything until a document surfaced that was never meant for us to know about. We've had discussions about secret MOUs. We've had the government, when it was in opposition, talk about the secrecy of the creation of memoranda between the United States and Jamaica and other countries. Well, we are now in that same position once again. And the second is a report finding that a sitting cabinet minister may have spent more than a decade falling short of the disclosure obligations that every public official in this country is required by law to meet. And while we do understand what Jermaine said at the very end of his segment with us about the weight of the burdens of those responsibilities, we have 63 parliamentarians that very often tend to meet it. In both cases, the first instinct of this government was not transparency, it was management. A coordinated messaging clause in the MOU, a press release instead of parliamentary statements that had been asked for by the opposition since they need to be able to ask what Jamaica is doing. Silence where a prime ministerial statement belongs. Now, I'm not saying this government is in any way trying to hide something or that they're uniquely culpable. But we are looking at something that affects this country. And as we just heard from Jamaicans for Justice, there are many questions to be asked and many questions to be answered. That's it for today's edition of Lead Story. Happy to have had you with us once again inside the show. I'm Jodianne Quarry. And on behalf of the CVM production team, we are delighted to once again have you with us inside the show. Have a fantastic evening, and I hope you stay safe. Up next, CVM News.
It's game on. And you may not be able to predict the scoreline or who will win each game. And you sure can't predict who will be the champion. But what is predictable is that Quartz has what you need to watch the games the way you want to every time. It's game on. Quartz, bringing value home.